What is the difference between AI research roles and AI engineering roles related to the jobs exist across the companies, research institutions, or within the company they have the research department? That's the question I got from one of my college junior. So see how I interpret it. See, first understand the meaning of what is the meaning of research, what is the meaning of engineer, right? And so research means research, search again for a specific purpose, right? And engineering means you are engineering. You are basically preparing the correct Lego boxes or blocks and then connecting all blocks together or engineering together to develop a solution or develop an application. So in computer science case, it is like the answer of a mathematical equation or answer of a logical situation where you apply mathematics in terms of code, you apply reasoning or logic, which can be converted to programming language, and then you build everything together or engineer together and develop a solution, something like that. Correct? So when you see this all philosophy depends on the person who is running the business. If you go back to Microsoft, right, you would see a senior leadership, let's say call Bill Gates, or you call Satya Nadella, you call their leadership team that got set up, let's say 50 years or 60 years ago when Microsoft got started, same like Google got started, same like Apple got started. And you would see across New Delhi, Gurgaon, Seoul, New York, there are set of companies who are solving who are in different domains. Let's say there is a company named CME, right? Chicago something, right? They are working on the finance area. So you would see a company, let's an example, you would see a company, Samsung Electronics, right? Samsung have hundreds of different type of products. If you go to Seoul, South Korea, you would see Samsung having, Samsung apartments, Samsung, malls, Samsung something else, right? So it's not only related to tech, right? So Samsung means Samsung, Sam means three, Sun means star, right? Something like that. So when these kind of companies, who already established in the ecosystem, in the ecosystem of our social system, because these are the longest served company. They are like Samsung, maybe they started like 100 years ago. You go to TCS, it has a history. You go to, like Microsoft, it has 50, 60 years of history, right? So they came up when, we were just doing, we were just in our city, right? So these guys, over the years, they developed set of practices and they divided on those practices in many different parts. One thing they call it research. Research means just studying, understanding, learning. Let's say we have to give a search. Google has to need to give a search. You type a specific query, it checks 200 different kind of checks based on the query you type. And then they have under the hood their own technology, engineering, which analyze your query, do 100 different things, follow 100 different quality gates, and then give you the result instantly. Instantly show these web pages are relevant for your query. So they do the similarity search, or there could be 100 different parameters or way they do and give you the result. But before reaching to this, solution, they would have done their homework. As an example, you go to the market, and once you go to the market, you need to buy a new television or you need to buy a new car, right? So there are two, three approaches. Approach one, what do? You do your research. What the research you do? You go to the market, you check, oh, I want to buy Volkswagen. No. I want to buy, Mercedes. No. I want to buy, Toyota. No. You go and check. You check, different years, different models, their tires, their way of, you drive it, you feel it, you learn it, and then you understand, get the feeling, oh, Volkswagen is from Europe. Mercedes is from this part of Europe or Switzerland, somewhere, right? And then you go for Toyota. Toyota is from Japan. It is 125 years old. This has this specific engine. This has this specific things. So you get those feeling. You get those feeling under you. Once you get those feeling under you, and when you drive it, you learn it, trust it, love it. Correct? So you do those specific research, and then you come to a conclusion. Oh, I go with this specific car. So that's the research. So similar thing happens in tech industry. When they really need people before they choose the correct solution or come to a specific solution. You see, Samsung Electronics introduce a television every year, or iPhone goes and give you next version of it every year, right? But before they reach, oh, we should use A or B or C, they may have, back in with Apple, they have the headquarters in Cupertino, United States. They have the research team. They figure out which specific application or which specific solution or which specific, pathway, which specific algorithm. So they have the research team, which compares whether A versus B versus C. So that has a separate ecosystem. And that comes with, research mindset. We can talk in detail. Engineering side, when basically you develop it, right? You already, let's an example in your kitchen, in your house kitchen, you already experience a specific type of dish which you cook when the guest comes. When the guest comes, let's say you take a specific sweet or you take a specific food which you cook. You already know those engineering. You get the raw elements, you get the raw vegetables, you get the raw pulses, you get the raw masalas, or you get raw oil. You get those ingredients, and on top of your head or on top of your process on your system in your home, you know which specific steps you are going to follow. And end of the goal is you get a specific dish, right? So you may call it as kitchen engineering. So there you already know. So in engineering side, when I define it in most of the businesses, when let's say in iPhone case, right, they already know which steps, stages, things, languages, process, business programming, or whatever comes around it, they call it their iPhone as a product. They know these are the assembly line, these are the steps of developing solution. We have already set it up. That is our iPhone engineer. That is our solution engineering. And they are basically, you come and join their engineering team. You would be called as a iPhone, iPhone product engineer, or you would be called, let's say there is a firmware update. You would see in your iPhone the updates are happening, correct? Every time you see the updates, security updates, you would be called as a iPhone software engineer, and you would be working on their process where they have set it up a system how the updates of a specific iPhone reaches to each specific iPhone. Again, understand when they send the update, they would have already tested in their local system that when somebody applies update to their existing iPhone operating system, then system works, seamlessly. So the person who comes to that specific engineering department, he joined that specific team, and in that specific team, because they have already set it up the system, that engineering system, you don't know at all how they have worked, which programming languages they are using, and most importantly, which people are working on, what kind of languages they are using when they speak each other, right? What kind of business terms they are using when they speak to each other, right? Because then their whole ecosystem comes. Some updates are because of new threats, new vulnerabilities, which they have discovered across the IT system, because maybe the previous code got written, but because of that specific code, there is a specific threat. Somebody has discovered, oh, in this specific code or in this specific iPhone has a hole, and I can introduce a specific threat and make harm to this specific iPhone, whatever. So it has hundreds of things, but I tried to explain, research is how you do the standard research, how you do the engineering, similar things companies do, similar things Apple do, Microsoft do, all top companies do. You will never have any idea how they work. You will not know, because that process is entirely different. And the hardest things for a tech guy is not the programming language. It is just a starting point. The real thing, when you join a specific company, you learn the ecosystem on which they develop the solution. There your energy goes. Learn their process of, the way they have developed a chain, a layers of way of working, where, you work a specific part of iPhone or Mac or specific operating system of Apple, and then, it goes to a series of chain and converted or become a part of the product which goes to the market. So anyway, I tried myself to give you the answer, how I see the things, how I interpret, and what my experience is. It may differ, somebody else's opinion, but it's not, I'm ending the discussion here. Feel free to comment it or reach out to me. You may have my contact details. I would be definitely providing my additional comments on it. Thank you for listening, and have a good day. Bye.